Jammeh's companies were called to attend or answer any questions during that commission?
Amul ben company bo xamne bu Yaya Jammeh la bo xamne oyon nañ len pour ñu ñew tew ci kanam commission bobu.
And just as a point of correction, you were not sitting as a judge on that commission. You were the chair commissioner of the commission.
Pour leral la tamit nekkulo won judge ci commission bobu da nga nekko nga xamne mo jité won commission bi.
And for the record and for the commission, it is to be established that that commission was set up purposely to target certain individuals and companies.
Ma buna degeural nak ci kanam commission bi nek commission bobu nga xamne dañ ko taxawalon pour ñu def ay gestu ci mbir ñi nga xamne dañ luubal ci walli nama dañ leen taxawalon pour tan ci ay nit.
At this point I want to move to another issue.
Adama jalla nak ci benen bunta.
I want to raise some questions about the declaration of the Gambia as an Islamic state.
Legi nak ma jall ci benen fan moy jamono ji nga xamé né nak yébané nañ woné né réewi Gambia réewi islam la.
Is it correct that you were the Minister of Justice at this time of the declaration?
Digal la né jamono bobu ya nekko ministre bi saytu walé luway ak atay ci réew mi?
Yes, I was.
Wow, jamono bu man la won.
Can you tell this commission the advice you gave to the president after he made this declaration?
Dañu mëna jox ban ndigal nga joxon president bi gannaaw bu mu defé yébané bi ba paré?
I can tell you that I actually wrote an opinion about his declaration.
Muna la wax man ci suma bop nak dingaton na nak lu jëm ci wali dogal bobu mu jëlon.
I cannot remember the substance of the opinion.
Munuma fatale ko nak baat ak baat li nga xamné loolu la waxon ci xalaat bobu.
It's in the files.
Waye mu ngi ci file yi.
But in essence,
waye nak ci ñu wéré
I had informed him
yegalon nako ne
that to declare for a state to become an Islamic state,
pour nak rew nek nak rewam islam,
there were certain procedures that we must go through.
Fox ñu am ay sawo yo xamne fa la ñoy jaar.
And that includes a referendum.
We'll get to that point.
But you asked me a question, you asked me what advice did I give. I'm telling you that I don't remember, but in essence, this is what I said.
You indicated that you had written an opinion.
Yes, I did.
I want to get on that point before we move further.
Okay.
Thank you. We have an opinion that was from your office. Signed by yourself, dated the 8th of February 2016. With your permission, Mr. Chair, I would like the witness to look at the document. Thank you. Would it be correct to say that opinion originated from your office?
Hold on, let me read it. Yes.
Is it correct that in that opinion, you were actually advising as to how the republic can be changed to an Islamic state?
Yes.
Mun nañu wax ne li nga binda fofu yang ko doon digal naka lañu wéccé réew mi def ko réewum islam.
And you had even gone to the extent of making comparison from 2 different jurisdictions.
Def nga ko sax bay méngale ñaari béréb.
To more than 2 different jurisdictions.
You talked about Pakistan.
Nga mbiri Pakistan.
What other countries did you mention?
Ban réew nga
A
waxati?
few of them, but you also have to take it into context. So since we're talking to the Commission and member of the public, if you see from the first paragraph of my letter and my opinion, if I may be allowed to read it.
You may read it.
mu ne comme que mbooloo mi la ñoo wax ak commission bi dañuy seet nag njëlbéeni xaaj boo xam ne nii ci lim bind.
I had said before that everything I do, I reduce it into writing. My opinions are always clear.
wax na lépp lu ma wax na dama koy def bind pour nag gis ne suma xalaat yëpp leer na.
In that letter I wrote, I refer to the verbal directive.
nga xam ne nag daal di woon naa ko ebal nag ci li nga xam ne nii mooy ndigal loo xam ne nii ay kàddu rek la woon.
Made on the 30th of December 2015.
defoon ko fanweeri fan ci weeri December 2015.
For this office, that is the Ministry of Justice.
pour nag si office bi ministre bi saytu wàlli loi ak àtte ci réew mi.
To conduct research on the modalities for the effective establishment and functioning of an Islamic Republic.
pour nag ñu xañtu ci anam yi nga xam ne mooy dëppoo ak tëddalin yi ñuy mën a sosé nag Islamic Republic di réewi islam.
The directive further directed that we seek guidance from systems such as Saudi Arabia, Mauritania, and Pakistan.
te tamit ñu dal di seet nag wéeru tamit ci li nga xam ne nii moo nekk ay xalaat yu tuggoo ci réew yooyu mu tudd.
Yes, so to look at it from the context.
pour seete ko nag ci ni nga xam ne noonu lañ ko bindee.
I had a meeting with him.
am naa jotaay ak moom.
Informed him about the procedure that would be involved.
wax ko nag sartay anam yi nga xam ne noonu lañ ko war a doxalee.
That for a state to become Islamic, for the country to be an Islamic Republic.
pour nag réew mun a nekk Islamic Republic.
This matter had to be brought to a referendum.
nekk na mbir moo xam ne foog ñu def ko ci référendum nag.
Thank you,
The Supreme Court. Let me give you context, please. That the Supreme Court had already decided.
ne Supreme Court bi nag dal dina dogal ba pare.
That Section 1 of the Constitution, which is an entrenched clause.
ci constitution bi nga xam ne nag nekk na loo xam ne ni waruñ koo génnee.
Cannot be amended without the input or the approval of the people.
manuñ koy génne manuñ koy wecci ci tey tamit amuñ ndigal boo xam ne mu ngi jóge koo ci xalaati nit ñi.
That means that it has to go through a referendum.
foog si rek mu dem nag ci wote référendum.
It was following that advice.
di toftal nag ndigal boobu.
He still insisted that he wanted to go ahead.
ba léegi rek mu dingal ne dafa bëgg a continuer.
That's why I refer to the verbal directive.
moo tax na ma jëm nag ci li nga xam ne mooy ndigal boo xam ne ci kàddu rek la woon.
That he made on the 30th of December.
ci li mu wax nag ni ki fanweeri fan ci weeri December.
And in the opinion.
ci li nga xam ne mooy xalaatam.
If you may allow me to guide you.
Okay.
You've talked about a referendum.
Yes.
And you've also talked about that he refused to accept that advice.
Well, he insisted on going ahead with it.
If you may look at this letter, which is dated the 15th day of February 2016, with your permission, Mr. Chair.
15th, that one is after this letter. Thank you.
The said letter was addressed to you as the minister.
Yes.
Letter bi yow lañ ko bindoon dama ne jooju yaayoon ministre bi.
Can you read the context of the letter for this commission?
Yes, let me read it first.
nga ñoo jàngal.
So this letter was dated on the 15th of February.
kon letter bi ñu ko bind fukki fan ak juróom ci weeri February.
It follows the letter that I had written dated the 8th of February.
toftal na nag letter bi ma bindoon juróom-ñetti fan ci weeri February.
And it refers to that letter.
tey tamit mu ngi jëmee nag ca letter booba.
In that letter, I had advised. That's why I wanted to go into details on that letter. In that letter, I had advised
dénku naa ko ne.
that we had conducted in-depth research as per his directive.
mooy nag ne dal dinañu def ay suñu gestu comme ci ndigalam.
at the systems of governance of 3 countries.
ci anam gi nga xam noonu lay doxalee ci nguur ak ñetti réew.
We focused on the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Malaysia.
dal dinañu seet Islamic Republic bu Pakistan, Malaysia.
And Islamic Republic of Mauritania.
ak Islamic Republic bu Mauritania.
We give examples of the way those systems work.
ñu joxe nag ay sanction ci anam gi nga xam ne noonu la mooy réew yooyu di doxee.
And we also highlighted the case, the situation, the legal system as it was, as it is.
ñu feeñal nag li nga xam ne nii moo nekk seen anami doxalini luwaat ni muy doxee.
And we raised the issue of judicial aspect of Islam.
ñu ekkati nag li nga xam ne nii mooy fànn bi dëppoo mbiri Islam.
And highlighted the fact that Malaysian judicial system is a bi-jural nature with large common law influences.
tey tamit wane ne Malaysia nag nekk na réew moo xam ne ñuy doxalee ak si ay sàtta ak ay loi lañ.
Yes, and that it had more common law influence as opposed to Islamic law influence.
ñoo gën a am nag seen loi yi nga xam ne ñoom lañ daan doxee seen biir réew ni loi yi Islam.
And I elaborated more on that.
te wax naa lu gën a yaatu nag si loolu.
And I stated that as a result of that, the foregoing, that given the Gambia's unique history, culture and social family ties, and other religious groups, a hybrid structure is proposed until all conditions necessary for an effective functioning of an Islamic state. And I said that recommendations are as follows: that if he wanted to proceed, there was going to be a short-term and long-term plan.
Mr.
And one of the recommendations, hold on, I'm referring.
May I lead you, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Do not read all the recommendations.
No, I'm not. I'm just reading
because
one.
It is very long.
Yes, I understand.
Yes.
So I'm just reading paragraph 1. Paragraph 1 talks about the formal name. The recommendation was maintain the formal name of Republic of the Gambia on official legal documents.
Pour continuer rek ci ni wéré ci loi moy touri Gambia di Republic of the Gambia.
Since a change of name without fulfillment of all constitutional requirements will resort to adverse legal complications.
Bu fekkee nag ne am nañ wécceeku te jaaru nag ci anam yi nga xam ne noonu la wéré ci loi dana fa am jafe-jafe ay rëq-rëq nag ci wàlli loi.
I also stated that it is particularly relevant in agreements and contracts.
Ci la wax ne na surtout nag ci yenn nangoto yi la ak ay contracts yi liggéey.
Which have great benefits to the government.
But
could be challenged in court and declared null and void. Due to the non-fulfillment of all legal and constitutional requirements necessary. I also stated that a referendum to take into consideration popular opinion on the proposal of Gambia becoming an Islamic state. As well as the fulfillment of constitutional requirements for amendment of an entrenched clause. I also suggested that we continue to promote equality for all persons, all faith, and all gender before the law. So there are many proposals and recommendations, but this is just some of it. So to go to the letter that was just handed over to me dated the 15th of February. From the Office of the Secretary General. The Secretary General signed the letter. And he was conveying an executive directive. To the effect that that the Gambia will continue to be called Islamic Republic of the Gambia.
Ne Gambia dafa dañ koy continuer di ko Islamic Republic of the Gambia.
And that the Republic will adhere to the status of a truly Islamic and not a pseudo-Islamic Christian state.
Tay tamit nak dana nek nak lo xamne dafa woné ne Islamic Republic la way du republic bo xamne digante Islam ak Christianity.
And the Republic would have all the attributes of an Islamic state within 5 years.
Tay tamit nak dana am lepp lo xamne ni aajo na ko di Islamic Republic ci dirab juromi at.
He also directed that therefore
ci la bindé tamit day wax joxe ndigal ne kon
to task my office
sas nak suma office
to work on the constitution
ñu liggéey nak ci constitution loi réew mi
and take note that there will be no referendum on this issue.
Tay tamit ñu xam nak ne amul ben wote digante dit ak waaw bo xamne dañ ko def ci mbir mi.
That the task force should initiate action
ne task force bobu nonu nak fokk ci dañu jël ay jéego
to establish institutions of Islamic State with Sharia laws
fokk ñu jaaral institution léew islamique boo xam ne ni danañ am ay sharia loi sharia
analogous to the functioning of Islamic State of Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan and Mauritania.
doxalin bi nga xam ne mu ngi nekk islamique bu réewi arab yooyu mu tudd noonu
That the Sharia judicial system
ne ate sharia bi
should be fully fledged by 30 December 2021.
te ne dana war a dox nag niki ñaar fukki fan fanweeri fan ci weeri décembre atum 2021
That in the process of requisite institutions should be set up
ci kaw nag yi nga xam ne nii mooy buntu liggéeykaay yi koy war a doxal foog si ñu taxawal leen
trainees identified for formal training
ràññi ay njàng yoo xam ne nii pour yenn njàngal
in Sharia jurisprudence and Sharia courts
si ni nga xamee noonu la ñuy doxalee lépp loo xam ne mu ngi aju ci wàlli kooti sariya yi la ak itamit luwaay sariya yi.
That is it. That is all.
kon nag foofu la leetar bi jeexee.
And that letter was addressed to yourself.
letter boobu nag yow lañ ko yónnee woon.
Yes, it was addressed to my office.
waaw ñu ngi ko yónnee suma office.
Can you read the addressee in that letter?
Attorney General, Minister of Justice.
leetar bi nag mu ngi jëm ci Attorney General ministre bi saytu wàlli.
May I have the letter,
loi
please?
ak atte.
The letter was personally addressed to you.
If it was personally addressed to me, it would have been Mama Fatima Singhateh. It was addressed to my office as Attorney General Counsel.
bu fekkee ne leetar bi dañ ma ko jëmaloon suma tur lañ fa doon bind Mama Fatima Singhateh.
The letter was addressed the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Then it said Ministry of Justice. So it was addressed to you as you held that position at that particular time.
dañ ne ministre bi nga xam ne moo saytu wàllu loi ak àtte ci office ministre bi saytu mbiri loi ak àtte bon te yow yaa fa nekkoon.
Can you tell this commission the actions you took after you received the directive dated the 15th of February 2016?
nga mën a wax commission bi nag lan nga def gannaaw boo jotee leetar bii nga xam ne ñu ngi ko bindoon fukki fan ak juróom ci at.
I believe there was a task force
yaakaar naa amoon na genn kuréel goo xam ne ni muy task force.
chaired by the Secretary General.
jiite ko nag di Secretary General bi.
consisting of some personalities.
nga xam ne ni bokk na ci nag di ay yenn nit.
May I stop you there?
Okay.
I believe you replied to the directive
foog naa tontu woon nga de.
on a letter dated the 14th March 2016.
leetar buñ binda fukki fan ak ñeneen weeri March 2016.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, I would like the witness to see this letter.
Thank you.
That letter is a reply to the directive you received.
leetar boobu dang ko tontu ci ndigal yi nga xam ne moom nga jotoon.
And in the same letter, you're actually referring to the opinion you had sent initially.
te ba tey ci leetar bi de yaa ngi ci doon wax mbiri yow li woon sa gis-gis ci leetar ba nga leen njëkkoon a yónnee.
Is it correct that in this letter, you indicated that a task force should be set up?
ndax mun nañoo wax ne leetar bi waxoon nga ci ne nañ tànn ay jàmbur.
Actually, the task force was already instructed to be set up in that letter, the previous letter of the 15th of February.
ci leetar bi jiitu bi nag ci lañ joxe woon ndigal ne daal way tànneef yooyu noonu jàmbur yooyu nañ leen sos.
And in this letter, I refer to the directive in said letter, referring to the task force to initiate action.
te leetar bi nag liñ ci wax mooy comme task force di jàmbur yooyu ñu santoon nañ jël ay jéego.
And I
So
have
it
in
is
indicted
therefore
commands.
correct that in this letter you created the task force.
I did not create the task force. I sent recommendations of names for the task force.
sosuma nak jàmbur yooyu de dama ràññee ay tur ñoo xam ne ñooy war a nekk kuréeli jàmbur yooyu.
Can you read the recommendations you sent for the task force?
Yes. I said, I hereby forward the following names for persons for the attention of His Excellencies to constitute a task force.
maa ngi wax ne maa ngi ebal joxe nag xalaat pour ñu ci tur yu nga xam ne ñoom laay tudd ci His Excellency nag pour task force comme penc yu jàmbur yooyu nga xam ne ñoom lañ wax ne ñu tànn.
And the following people were proposed.
ñii nag ñoom lañ tuddoon.
Alhaji Ousmane Dia.
Alhaji Ousmane Dia.
Kadi Omar Seka.
Kadi Omar Seka.
Alhaji Essa Dabo.
Alhaji Essa Dabo.
Alhaji Mbai Saho.
Alhaji Mbai Saho.
Dr. Omar Dia.
Dr. Omar Dia.
Mrs. Marie Sen.
Mrs. Marie Sen.
Dr. Abubakar Senghor.
Dr. Abubakar Senghor.
Mr. Lamin Kamara.
Mr. Lamin Kamara.
Mr. Abdoulaye Ba.
Mr. Abdoulaye Ba.
Those were the names that were recommended.
ñoo ñooy tur yi nga xam ne nag ñoom lañ ràññeewoon nañ.
Was the task force set up?
Yes, the task force was set up.
waaw jàmbur yooyu nag taxawaloon nañ leen.
And the aim of the task force was to now find a way of implementing the Islamic State of the Gambia.
I think it was more like looking at the feasibility of the Islamic State.
Can you repeat, please? Sorry.
I think it was on the feasibility of establishing an Islamic State.
Which goes to the same thing as they were set up to find a way that they could implement this directive that had stated that Gambia should change to an Islamic state.
If
you say so.
Yes, I do. I believe you have your constitution with you.
Yes, I do.
May you open part 3, where it says legislative and other powers of the National Assembly.
What section?
100.
Yes.
You will see that on the section 1, 101.
Section 101.
It says the legislative power of the Gambia shall be exercised by bills passed by the National Assembly and assented to by the President. Is that correct?
Yes.
Which means in interpretation that even the President cannot make laws. It is only the National Assembly that makes laws.
That's
very clear.
Thank you. At this point, I would like you to read subsection 2 of section 100 to the Commission.
That the National Assembly shall not pass a bill to establish a one-party state, establish a... Yeah.
Néegi député duñ agalé na ben taxawal ben loi pour nak gis ne ben party state dana am.
Establish a religion as a state religion.
Té ben diiné nak dal moy nek diiné réew mi.
And alter the decision or judgment of a court in any proceedings.
Ak itamen génné nak li nga xamné moy dogali court bo xamné ni muy doxé.
Thank you, Ms. Singhateh.
You're welcome.
I think section 2B of the Constitution is stated clearly.
Section 2B with
no ambiguity. It says the National Assembly shall not pass. Shall not pass a bill to establish any religion as a state religion. Isn't that the advice that should have been given to the President when he declared a state to be Islamic? That there was no need to write opinions actually comparing other jurisdictions, etc., on Islamic implementations.
And what makes you think I did not advise that?
ak lan nga foog lan moo tax nga foog ne daal joxuma ko digal boobu.
Well, you have told the commission that you write very well.
Yes, I do.
It was not in your opinion.
It was not. I refer to a verbal directive after a discussion I had with His Excellency.
Everything you said in that verbal directive was actually stated mainly in the letter that you read, which gave you the directive to go ahead and implement the Islamic State.
I gave the advice verbally, and he responded and gave a verbal directive, and I implemented and reduced that verbal directive into writing, and still went ahead with the process of implementation.
Dama ko yedda nak ci ay cadeau ñun ci cadeau mu dal di joxe ndigal ci cadeau nak ci la bind nak li ci ay kayit.
And the process of implementation
ci anami niñ koy doxale nak
includes
boole nañ ci nak ne
the issue of a referendum.
Lu jëm ci wàllu wote diggante waaw ak déet ñu xamé ko referendum.
So no matter however you take it, no matter how up and however you look at it,
ak noko munti xolé noko munti gisé,
it would still become an issue for the decision for the people of the Gambia.
Ba légui rek da fay nek dogal bo xamné mu ngi jëm ci wàllu ci Gambia.
So whatever you look at it, however you look at it, a referendum would still be required.
Noko gisé rek referendum fokk ci rek ñu def ko.
And then the people would decide on what they want.
Kon nit ñi danañu sét nak ci lan lañ bëgg.
And that would have been the end of it.
Tamé nak ci la doon di mujjé.
Actually, Mr.
Council,
Singhateh,
before you continue with that one, Commissioner Jones wanted to raise a point of order. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Council, it will be very helpful to the Commission if Ms. Singhateh can read the response to the letter, the executive directive received on 15th of February, because we are missing some content from her response. Thank you.
thank you, Commissioner. We'll hand back the letter to her to be read.
She to read the entire letter.
Thank you. Would you like me to read the whole letter?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Reference is invited to reference number. That was the letter I had sent to the office of the President.
Li nga xamné ni mu ngi jébal bop na ci lettre bi nga xamné mom lañ jëkëna jël ci office of the president bi.
On the above.
Ci liñ bind ni ci kaw.
And hereby convey executive directive.
Ak fim nek ni fi nak ñu ngi agalé nak li nga xamné ni moy ndigal lo xamné mu ngi joggé ko ci president bi.
To the effect that the Gambia will be called an Islamic Republic of the Gambia.
Pour commencer nak di o Gambia di muy Islamic Republic of the Gambia.
And the republic will adhere to the status of truly Islamic and not a pseudo-Islamic Christian state.
That
the republic will have all the attributes of an Islamic state within 5 years. The directive further tasks you to work on the Constitution.
Constitution the Republic.
Sorry, Ms. Singhateh, I'll interject. I meant the response to the letter that was dated on the 15th, not the letter that came from the SG. Your response to the letter, whereby you gave recommendations. And could you please cite the date as well, please?
Yes, it says the 14th of March. And I indicated that I refer to the letter dated the 15th of February with reference number. The reference is indicated, which was a response to my letter of the 8th of February. The directive given in said letter was inter alia in quotes a task force to initiate action to establish the institutions of an Islamic state with Sharia laws analogous to the functioning of Islamic State of Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, and Mauritania.
End
of quote.
ñu daldi jeexal nag nañ ko seppee.
And I continued.
Ma continue.
In this regard,
ci kaw bunta boobu nag.
I forward the following names for person.
maa ngi ebal nag ñi turi ni ñi nga xam ne moom mu leen a lim si nii.
For His Excellency to select.
Pour nag His Excellency mu tànn.
To constitute the task force for work to commence.
Pour continuer nag task force boobu di way pencam jàmbur yooyu nag pour ñu continuer commencer.
The executive directive above.
ci ndigal li nga xam ne ni mu ngi jóge ko ci président bi ci fii ni ko feeñalee ci kaw.
And the following persons were proposed.
nit ñi muy tudd si nii nag ñoom lañ ci xalaatoon.
Would you like me to go through the names, the list?
Yes, please, you may continue.
Dr. Alaji Usman Jah. I have number 1, Alaji Usman Jah.
No, continue.
Ma continue.
Wow.
Kadi Omar Seka, Alaji Esa Dabo, Alaji Mbai Saho, Dr. Omar Jah, Mrs. Marisen, Dr. Abubakar Senghor, Mr. Lamin Kamara, Mr. Abdoulaye Ba.
tur yooyu mu tudd nag mooy ñi nga xam ne ni ñoom lañ xalaatoon pour ñu nekk pencum jàmbur yooyu nga xam ne ni ñooy task force buy waral na doxal mbir mi.
Is that the end of your response?
Yes. The rest is a proposal that in order to be more productive, the task force should be kept small.
Please just read to the end of the letter.
Yeah.
That's it. I hand it over back to the chairman. It's just the
Okay.
content of the letter.
Okay, it's proposed that in order to be more productive, the task force be kept small.
nag seen comité pencam woytaan ñooñu dañ war naa nekk lu néew.
His Excellency is hereby requested to choose 4 or 5 persons from the persons listed above.
tamit président bi ñeent ba juróomi nit rek laay tànn nag ci ñooñu nga xam ne ñoom lañ doon tudd sànq ci gannaaw.
If the need arises, assistance could be sought from other persons for specific purposes.
bu fekkee nag ne aajoo nañ ko nag danañ war a aw ndimbal ci ñeneen.
It is further proposed that the office of the president could chair this task force.
te tamit nag xalaat nañu tamit ne ñii di penc jàmbur yooyu noonu nag office of the president ñoom ñooy leen ay jiite.
To ensure transparency.
pour gis ne njub.
Expeditious compliance with timelines.
ak tamit nag mu gaaw ànd ak li nga xam ne loolu lañ natt si waxtu bi mu war a sotti.
And the Ministry of Justice will coordinate the affairs of the task force.
te ministre bi saytu wàllu loi ak àtte si réew mi danañ taxaw nag li nga xam ne mooy doxalini comité woy tànneef yooyu.
Should His Excellency have any other person in mind,
bu fekkee nag ne président bi am na keneen koo xam ne ni xalaat na ko ci.
they could also be added to the list above.
mun nañ ko boole nag ci limi ñi nga xam ne ñoom lañ tudd si gannaaw si kaw.
The foregoing is hereby submitted for executive approval.
ci lii nag daal dinañ ko àggale nag pour ñu wéral ko.
Or for the directive.
wala tamit ci yeneen i ndigal.
That is it.
foofu la leetar bi am.
Thank you. I hand it back over to you, Chair.
Thank you. Council, can you pass the letter for the commissioners to see, please?
Yes. Mr. Usher, can you take the letter round? We shall tender these documents
Yes, I know.
at the ending of the
but perhaps,
proceedings.
it might be helpful if we see the documents as well.
Yes.
Before tendering, otherwise the commissioners wouldn't have seen. Thank you very much. You may proceed, Council, please.
Thank you. Ms. Singhateh,
Yes.
looking at the provision in the Constitution,
Yes.
seetee ni nga xam noonu lañ ko waree ci téere luwaa réew mi.
which has clearly stated that the National Assembly cannot pass any bill
nga xam ne leeral nañ fa nañ ne ngi député yi day mënuñoo jàllale benn luwaa
to change this country into any other sort of state,
pour wecci réew mi mu nekk ci beneen façon ngi réew.
in particular when it comes to religion.
surtout nag mu ñëw nag ci mbiri diina.
This advice should have been made clear in writing to the President,
lii danga ko waroon a binda mu leer nga digal ko président.
since you're very good with writing and everything.
comme que yow nag ku mun a binda nga.
This action put us in chaos as the Christians got confused.
lii nag indi woon na jaxasoo ndaxte ñi nga xam ne ñoo di christian yi ñoom jaaxle woon nañ.
Even us Muslims especially legal practitioners, got confused. Because we were worried and did not know what sort of state we would be in. And what laws would be governing us. The directive should not have been followed to actually recommend people to start a task force.
Would you like me to respond?
If you want to.
Yes. I know that there are other correspondences relating to this subject matter. And from those correspondences, you will see even the task force when it was set up, the members of the task force were quite hesitant. Because they knew that this was something that cannot happen immediately. So what they were talking about is trying to see how to convince the president to maintain the status quo and walk towards a future. There was a recommendation of time frame, I don't recall, but it's in the letter.
Ms. Singhateh, it was not the responsibility of the task force to convince the president. It was your responsibility as the advisor to advise him according to the law, especially the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution.
I hear you, Council, but what the council you should know, you should be aware of, and what this commission needs to be aware of, and what the members of the public listening in need to be aware of.
Council, yow li nga wara xam ak kilifa yi nga xamne ñoo sekk commission bi liñ wara xam ak nit ñi ñuy déglu liñ wara xam.
That because even though I am the principal legal advisor,
naam sax dax man ma nekkon principal legal advisor bi di ki yedd nak ci nguur gi. And
yes, I'm supposed to advise on the law.
Tay nak waaw dama ko wara yedd nak lu jëm ci wali loi bi.
But the president had other advisors. Including religious advisors. So if my advice as a lawyer is in conflict with a religious advisor, knowing that this is what he wants, there is no way that he would accept my advice. But my advice has always been there. And it was clear. So if based on his religious advisor, he still wanted to proceed with his proclamation, then that was up to him. He was the elected official. He was the one voted into office by the people. So the people in the end would have to decide.
Ms. Singhateh,
that's it.
The religious leaders cannot advise the president on the Constitution. Again, that was your role. And the opinion that has been seen before this commission did not table that aspect of the Constitution. Instead, it continued to give him the courage that he could change this country into an Islamic state. And stated ways, and even compared with other jurisdictions. We cannot buy that. that he took advice from religious leaders. If he was not taking your advice, then it means your position was vacant. You were just there.
That's your opinion.
Well, that's what you stated, that he was not taking, if he does not take your advice, you stated it. What use does it make? If you advise he does something different, if it was someone else, they might even resign because then they're no longer fulfilling the position that they're sitting in.
I was actually carrying out my responsibility issuing advice. The responsibility for accepting the advice does not rest upon me.
That was not within my purview. In this instant, you did not advise the president accordingly as stated in the Constitution.
That's your opinion.
And we will leave it to the Commission to decide on the issues before them. At this point, I would like to move to the issue about the political persons that were arrested and detained in April of 2016. We have evidence that several people were arrested and detained in April. 2016. And all the offenses they were charged with were bailable. But your office denied them bail. Can you tell the Commission why this was the situation?
Can you be specific as to the people that were arrested? I don't know what you're talking about.
Fatima Jawara, Njogonjai, etc. Sure, those two names I've named will make you remember.
Well, you know that bail is granted by the court, not the AG's chambers. You also know that arrest and detention is done by the police and not the AG's chambers. So I'm surprised that you asked me that question.
As the advisor to the people and responsible for the administration of justice, when these atrocities came to your attention, that women in particular were being arrested, were being beaten, were being detained over 72 hours, you should have taken action.
How do you know I knew that? At the time.
I will get to that.
How do you know I knew that at the time?
The lawyers who were defending these women would always want to make an application for bail. And the DPP then would say to them, his hands are tied and he would have to talk to the Attorney General before he can make any decisions. That is how I know it was.
That is news to me. That is news to me. Because I have never gone to court to actually argue a bail application. So for DPP to say that he was waiting on instructions from the Attorney General, when he had the discretion to decide, I'm surprised.
We know during that time the DPP did not have a discretion. That everything that was being done in the country, in the judiciary, in the courts was directed by Yaya Jammeh. And the DPP would obviously have to get instructions from you as you receive the directions from Yaya Jammeh. And the directives.
I can assure you that that was not the case in this instance.
Okay. I'll leave that to the Commission to decide.
Please do.
On the issue further, it was all over the news, all over the world. And it was heard by everybody that these women in particular were arrested, were beaten, were kept in detention when the charges levied against them were bailable. So you ought to have known. And you ought to have done the necessary. As the Attorney General yourself, you're even allowed to appear before the courts based on the Constitution. You yourself could have appeared and told the court, we are not opposing bail in these matters. Being a woman, being an activist, being someone who has always handled women issues.
I can assure you, I did not know.
We will leave that issue for the Commission to decide.
Very well.
We also have information that when Fatou Camara was arrested, you were given directives by the President, then Yaya Jammeh, to ensure that she will be charged with an offense.
I can assure you that's definitely not true. And I say so because an opinion was written on that case, and it went through the usual process that it usually goes through. The person who wrote the opinion is alive and well, and he recommended for the discharge of the case. DPP approved it. It came upstairs. We approved it. So that one I can assure you most definitely is not true. That assertion is most definitely false.
That assertion is true because you even had a meeting with officials from the NIA headquarters about how you could prosecute Fatou Camara.
That is false. That is most definitely false. That is most definitely false. And this forum being a truth commission, you should base your allegations on truth and not on hearsay. That I can assure you 100% is false. I never met any NIA. I never discussed this case. The only person I discussed this case with was the DPP when he suggested his opinion, and I approved. So that one is completely and utterly false and ridiculous. I would emphatically deny it 100%, 150%.
We will allow the Commission to decide on the issues.
The Commission can decide.
However, you were aware that she was detained at mile 2.
I was not aware.
At NIA.
I was not aware. I was not aware. This incident happened in October. I assumed office in August. The only time I knew about it was when I saw the case file. And even I myself accepted that, yes, there was no case against her. Every allegation that was made against her was just relating to her personal decisions and had nothing to do with law. That one I can assure you 100%.
Are you telling this commission that you were not in office at the time of Fatou Camara's detention?
I was in office. I was telling you, I just assumed office. I assumed office in August. This incident happened in October. So I was telling you that I was familiar with the case. I saw it, but I know for a fact that I did not meet with NIA, and I know for a fact that the opinion that was written by counsel for the state in the criminal division was approved by me, approved by DPP and endorsed by me for the case to be discharged. That one I can tell you for free.
Ms. Singhateh, for clarification, were you the AG at the time?
I was. I'm telling you, it
Can
was
you
in the
allow
earlier
me
part.
to finish my questions and
Go
don't
ahead.
talk over me?
Go ahead.
Yes. To clarify,
leeral
were you the minister at the time Fatou Camara was arrested and detained?
yaa nekkoon ministre bi ñu jàppee Fatou Camara teg ko benn place.
I believe I was.
Waaw yaakaar naa
You
man la
were
woon.
the minister.
waaw yaay woon ministre bi.
And further, you were aware that she was detained at NIA.
xamoon nga ne ñu ngi ko jàpp teg ko.
No, I was not. It was until I received the case file.
Déedéet yëguma woon ko ba jamono bi nga xamee ni ci laa jot case file bi.
And she was detained for 25 days.
téye nañ ko fa ñaar fukki bés ak juróom.
Again,
Without
I
trial?
did not know.
Ba tey rek xawma ci yoon dara.
Without trial,
yóbbu wuñ ko ci court bi àtte wuñ ko.
without access to a lawyer,
te nanguwuñ sax mu am lawyer.
and without access to her family.
mënut a gise sax ak mbokkaam yi.
And you were aware, or you ought to have been aware, as the minister.
waroon nga koo yëg comme que yow yaay ministre bi.
I could not have been aware because I was not the person detaining her. It wasn't my ministry that detained her. I could not have aware because I was not the one who charged her or arrested her. I could not have been aware. The only time I became aware was when the file was brought to my desk to endorse the discharge of the suspect.
Mënuma woon koo yëg ndax du ma woon ne man maa ko jàppoon du suma roon buntu liggéeykaay ñoo ko jàppoon. Mënuma woon koo yëg ndax du toon man ñoo ko tegoon suma département ñoo ko tegoon tuuma ñoo ko téye woon.
Ms. Singhateh, this matter was all over the media. And I know you listen to the media. Further to that, the file got to your office while she was still in detention. So it cannot be that your office or yourself did not know that she was in detention at Baba Dinka for 25 days unlawfully. In any event, if your office was even waiting further on investigations, etc. She should have been released on bail pending investigation. Because as per the Constitution, you cannot hold a person more than 72 hours without a charge.
That's your testimony.
And even though you were not the officer or the institution in charge of arrest and detention, you were fully aware of arrests that were going on rampantly in this jurisdiction. We all knew. But everybody was afraid to tell Yaya Jammeh the truth. And because of that, people's rights were violated in this jurisdiction. At this point, I shall be moving to the next issue, which is your role and the activities that you held during the impasse that this country suffered. Can you tell this commission the position you were holding during the impasse?
I was the Minister of Justice.
And
it is correct that you attended a meeting where the president declared that he was not accepting the results.
No, I wasn't. No, I didn't.
During the impasse, did you attend any meeting with the president?
What is the impasse?
The period where Yaya Jammeh refused to leave this jurisdiction after he legally lost the elections.
Perhaps we need to clarify a few things.
That
the mandate of the president expired after the 17th of January 2017.
Ne mandat president bi dana jeex fukki fan ak juroom ñaar ci wéri
Ms. Singhateh, I know the law.
No, please.
I know the law just as you do.
May I answer the question?
The point is, the president made a declaration that he is not accepting the results of the election and that he is not leaving the jurisdiction. Isn't that correct?
Amna loi de president bi dafa ne mom nanguwut election yi nga xamne non la téré té bon du génn réew mi.
You asked
Isn't that correct?
You cannot ask me to answer a question the way you want me to answer. I would answer it the way I can answer it.
With this question, is just a yes or a no.
There's no such thing as a yes or no answer.
There is.
No, there isn't.
Okay, so I am putting it to you that the president did refuse the election results and refused to leave the jurisdiction.
I am saying the president, yes, lost the election. And yes, conceded to the election loss. And then changed his mind as to the loss of election.
On a Friday, as usual. He always makes his announcements on Friday.
At least allow me to answer.
Go ahead.
And this was triggered by the declaration by IEC of two conflicting election results. This resulted to the president declaring that he no longer accepts the results. And it's normal for an election to be contested.
At this stage, what did you advise the president as the advisor?
Can you listen? Can you listen? At least may I be allowed to speak? You asked an open-ended question. Let me answer. His refusal to accept the election result is his right.
What
we all know is once his mandate expired, he would have to step down. And his mandate would have expired after the 17th of January. And he refused or reversed his decision to concede on the 9th of December. So you don't expect me to say yes to him refusing to step down because he was still president. There was no need for him to step down until the 17th of January.
Mama, I'm sorry. Ms. Singhateh, it was unlawful.
Ms. Singhateh andul ak loi.
And as it had been said by the Bar Association,
and
followed by many others after, Yaya Jammeh caused treason by refusing the election results and refusing to step down. And he caused chaos. As you would see, mothers, children, etc. had to flee out of this jurisdiction because of his unlawful declaration.
Can we not confuse this, please? Can we not confuse this situation, please?
We are not confusing the situation.
No, you are making your own assertion. You were not there. I was there. So allow me to speak. And I'm not here to hold brief for President Jammeh. I am telling you what I saw and what I experienced. So if I may be allowed to speak, I can tell you. I know the whole nation is curious as to what happened during the impasse. And since I was there, I can tell you about my own lived experience.
Ms. Singhateh,
please.
The point is, there was an election. There was a winner. There was a declared president. Yaya Jammeh conceded. As usual, he flipped. He changed his mind. and said, I own the Gambian people. I cannot let this go.
Did he say that?
He changed. And he said he was no longer leaving the seat.
That's not the way I saw it. And I was there. And I would like to refer you to section 49 of the Constitution.
At this point, I had asked you whether you had attended a meeting after Yaya Jammeh had lost the elections and refused to leave the jurisdiction.
He couldn't have refused to leave the jurisdiction because he was still in office. Okay. His mandate expired on the 17th of January. So unless that was when between the 9th of December and the 17th of January was what the impasse was all about. Anything after, he would have lost his mandate to stay in office.
It is clear that the president had said then, Yaya Jammeh, he will not leave. So we were not looking at the expiry date of his term, etc. He had already caused the treason by refusing the election results and saying he is not leaving the jurisdiction.
That's your opinion, but that's not true. That's a false assertion.
And I raised the question, which was simple, which referred to, did you attend any meeting where after the elections that Yaya Jammeh lost and did not leave? Did you attend a meeting during that period?
I attended a number of meetings up to the time my mandate expired on the 17th of January 2017.
At this point, I will show you a particular meeting that you attended. Obi-Wan, can you play the video, please? Obi-Wan
made it clear that the results, no matter what we do, it's not going to change the result. But at the same time, also, they announced two results. After announcing the first one, they then came back the same day, both of which were also signed by the IEC chairman. And then they came and said, this is what has happened. Now, it is unacceptable. So, what we are asking for is to go back to the electorate under a completely independent electoral commission that would supervise the election as we used to do before without having any problem, and allow every Gambian to vote. But it is abnormal that you set up a time frame in any country, anywhere in the world, after watching elections. If people are already at the polling station, you allow them to vote. So the if I must accept what all votes.
We met with the Attorney General, and we're very proud of her. She's one of the several women we met when we went to Burundi. It was also a woman that was Attorney General of Burundi. And she received us very well. And lucky enough for us, in the African Bar Association, our Vice President for West Africa is a woman.
Can you stop this video?
In the country and in the cabinet, there cannot be any problem. Because
Obi-Wan, can you stop the video? Sorry, Mr. Chair. It seems like there was a mix-up with the videos that were played. However, the video that was played showed Yaya Jammeh giving an excuse.
Dafa melni dafa am jaxaso bu am ci video yi ñu doon teg waaye ba léegi ci video bi Yaya Jammeh joxe na fa kàddu
as to how he would not accept the election results.
di wone moom naka la sukkandiku ba bañ li nga xam ne moo faaxee ko ci election yooyu mi sànni carte yooyu.
It is clear that he caused treason.
Reer na nañ ne nag moom daf doon suufu réew nguur gi.
And should not have been giving such statements. And should have been advised by the Attorney General that he cannot be making such declarations. Okay, I understand they have the right video now. Obi-Wan, may it be played, please.
This is why I call you religious leaders, because people listen to you more than they listen to politicians. All I want us to do together is to reunite the country, reconcile and forget what has been said about us, what they have done to us and other people. All what I want is reconciliation so that the country continues.
The country, in spite of its geographical location in a very volatile region that is prone to all forms of instability, has always been synonymous
Obi-Wan, you may turn off the video. Ms. Singhateh, do you remember this meeting being held?
Yes, with the religious leaders, yes.
Wow, ak kilifa diine yi, wow.
Can you tell us what was the intention of the meeting?
I heard it the same way everybody else did, for reconciliation.
And for
united the country.
Is that because that's the time Yaya Jammeh had decided he will not leave the presidency?
He did not tell me that he was not going to leave the presidency.
Well, in the essence of this meeting, he had indicated that he shall not be leaving the presidency. And he wanted the Gambian people to reconcile and forget about everything they had said about them. Seeming to mean that if we allowed him to stay, he would change his ways. As the Attorney General, you should have advised him not to even have such a meeting. In a meeting where he's trying to convince the Gambian people to allow him to stay. He should have been advised to accept the results and leave the seat peacefully when the time came. I shall be moving to the next issue, which is how the African Bar Association was encouraged to come and make statements on the election and meet with Jammeh. At this point, I will not ask the Obi-Wan to play the video because some of it was shown earlier on. Is it correct to say that you accompanied this said African Bar Association to meet the president?
No, I did not accompany them.
However, they met you at State House.
Actually, they came to see me at my office.
And
introduce themselves. They said that they were concerned about what was going on in the Gambia. That they had an appointment to see the president. That it wasn't right for them to come to meet the president without seeing me as their colleague in law.
Ne daal doon jaadu na pour ñu dem rek gisante ak président bi noonu te jaaruñ ci man mi nga xam ne nii maay seen nawle nag ci wàlli loi.
So that's how I met them.
Noonu laa gisante ak ñoom.
And later on,
te gannaaw loolu.
I was invited to a meeting at OP.
Ci lañ ma on a meeting ci office of the president bi OP.
And they were there as well.
Te ñu ngi fa woon tamit.
Do you remember some of the statements they made on that day?
Fàttale ko nga ñoom kàddu yi ñu fa gaaraloon bés boobu.
Vaguely.
But it seems like this time it was okay for non-nationals, non-Gambians to come in and talk about what is happening in our jurisdiction.
Dafa meloon ni jamono boobu daal dara aayuti pour koo xam ne du waa réew mi ñu ñëw pour wax suñ mbiri réew.
It was never not okay for non-Gambians to come and talk about what's happening in our jurisdiction.
Mosta nekk lu ñàkk a jaadu ci jamono boo xam ne ñi nekkut ay doomi Gambien ñëw fii ci réew mi di wax lu aju suñu wàlli réew.
What I had said earlier, which you deliberately misconstrued,
li nga xam ne loolu laa wax nga xam ne ni danga ko def ci teyef bañ koo dégg rek.
was the fact that if we had a problem in the house,
mooy bu fekkee nag ne am nañ jafe-jafe ci néeg bi fii.
and the house I mean the Gambia.
te néeg bi may wax mooy Gambia rek.
It's very strange that outsiders would tell us about it.
loolu nag dana nekk loo xam ne lu jàmm la ne ñii ci biti ñoo ñu koy wax.
Which I'm not accusing them of.
nga xam ne nekkuma di leen tuumaal.
But it was in the context of the political agreement. The political agreement we used to have, the meeting we used to have, was very interactive. So it was very friendly. So it wasn't as if I was accusing them.
nekku nag ne dama leen doon tuumaal ne waaye jotaay bi ñu doon am nag nekk na loo xam ne yu fës la woon.
Singhateh,
but I found it very strange that they would tell us about it whilst you all kept mute. That was the point I was trying to drive home. Not because they're foreigners, they said anything, but because my own compatriots kept mute about it. That was the point I was driving home at Ms. Dandinyai.
It's Mrs. Jabi now.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Jabi.
Thank you. Ms. Singhateh, to let you know, the way you had said it, I did not misconstrue it. Okay? The point is, we know Yaya Jammeh and his government frowned on non-nationals raising issues that affected the country. However, in this particular instant, because it was a comment that was buttering him up and in his favor, he allowed it to be televised. It should not have been allowed at that time when this country was in a state of confusion for foreigners to come and make pronouncements about our elections that were very clear. Simplicity, that was the issue. At this point, it would just be clear to state that you were one of the longest serving attorney generals, putting both your terms together.
I don't think so. I disagree, but I'm sure you must have have your reason for saying that.
I will leave the commission to see the records on that. However, during your tenure, the Gambia was declared an Islamic state. The Gambia withdrew from the ICC. In December 2014, when there was the failed coup, many persons were arrested, including families of alleged coupists. During the term when you were in tenure, there were loads of arrest, detention, which were all unlawful. There were many laws that were kind of incorporated. There were laws that were passed, especially the LGBT rights. LGBT. It affected their rights.
li nga xam ne mooy seen yelleef.
And a law was even enacted.
te am na sax luwa boo xam ne tëraloon nañ ko ci.
And they were prosecuted. Some were prosecuted.
ci lañ leen luwa dal di daan.
And it imposed capital offense.
te nag ñu teg leen ne am na dañ leen war a rey.
The record of the country
li nga xam ne mooy mbir réew mi ni mu tëree woon.
under human rights was very poorly.
ci wàlli yelleefi doomu aadama day doxutoon dara ci ni mu war a doxee.
The UN special rapporteurs were refused access.
ñi nga xam ne ñoo doon joxe xibaar ci mbootaay xeet wi nanguwuñ woon ñu egsi.
To prisons, etc.
pour ñu dugga ci biir kaso yi.
We send reports that not really table out
yónnee xibaar yoo xam ne nag tëraluñ ko.
the violations in the jurisdiction.
pour wone li nga xam ne moo di yàq luwaay ñoo def ci biir réew mi.
And it even got to a point we even stopped sending reports.
demoon na jamono joo xam ne sax bàyyi woon nañ ci ebal yónnee ay xibaar.
As the Minister of Justice,
comme que yow yaay ministre bi saytu luwaaye àtte bi.
it was your responsibility
sa warugal la woon.
to advise,
pour nga digal,
to ensure
pour gis ne
that none of these violations
ne day yàq luwaay yi yépp
kept occurring in this country,
du continuer di am nag ci biir réew mi.
especially those that affected the women.
surtout yi nga xam ne laal na jigéen ñi.
Thank you very much, Ms. Singhateh. At this point, I have no more questions.
jërëjëf Ms. Singhateh. fi ma
And I
toll
hand
nii
you
nag
over to the
amatuma
chair.
lu ma la.
I would like to respond.
You can do that in your closing remarks.
No, I would like to respond, Mr. Chair, because there were many issues raised here by council, and I just cannot, it cannot be swept under the rug under general remarks. I would like to be given an opportunity to respond to each and every false allegation made here.
Well, you can respond to questions that she's raised.
Yes.
And the others are reserved for your closing remarks.
Yes, let me respond to the question.
Please proceed to
Thank
answer
you.
the questions.
Thank you. With regards to the failed coup, the coup was an attempted coup to overturn a legitimately installed government, which is treasonous. In any jurisdiction that you go through, coups are taken very seriously. I'm going to stop there at that. With regards to laws passed, I have never passed any law that violated any person's rights. The LGBTQ Acts that you refer to, it was an amendment to an already existing act that had been enacted since 2005. And what I sought to amend was to protect people from being infected with HIV/AIDS through an LGBT relationship. The language of the law is there. Feel free to read it out for the whole world to hear. But my responsibility at the time was to protect every citizen in this country. There was already law in the books that was prohibiting LGBTQ relationship. That was in place since 2005. So I did not pass that law. The only amendment I made which carried a capital offense was the deliberate infection of HIV/AIDS through a homosexual relationship. Every other law I have passed have been progressive, have been protective, have been in the best interest of the people of the Gambia. And the fact that you would forget about all those laws and highlight one law, which was an amendment to a 2005 act, means your intentions are not genuine.
ni wér na.
And another thing,
Ak beneen bi mooy.
it is important to remember
Baax na nag pour ñu fàttali.
my responsibility as Attorney General
Ne suma warugal ni may ministre bi saytoon wàlli loi bi.
effectively and efficiently executed to the best of my ability.
Moom nag doxaloon nañ ko ni mu waree ni mu wéree ci li nga xam ne ni moo gàccoo ci suma
I
man.
advised based on the law as I saw it.
Dama daan yedde ci anam gi nga xam ne noonu laa ko gisee ci loi bi.
Yes, the rest I would state in my closing statement.
Li des nag danaa ko indi nag ci suma jamono bi may joxe nag suma
But one thing I would add,
lenn nag naa ko ci yokk.
all the statements here and the putting it to you here were all based on hearsay.
Li nga xam ne mooy kàddu yi yëpp ngay wax ne dañ ko teg fii ak leneen yëpp duñ ko li rek ci ay sottandeku ay nopp.
Other than the issue of the Islamic State,
su moyee nag mbiri Islamic State bi.
there's nothing you can put your finger on that show that I deliberately acted in contravention to international human rights law.
Mu dara loo mën a yëkkati sa loxo fii ne def naa ko ci loo xam ne nii dal dina féewaloo ak lu jëm ci wàllu yelleefi doomu aadama yi ci àdduna bi.
Or the Constitution of the Gambia,
wala luwaay réewi Gambia bi.
which is the foundation upon which all of us stand.
Nga xam ne ni nag mooy sosuteeg ñun ñëpp fiñ taxaw.
Yes.
Jërëjëf.
Commissioners, if you have any questions, please indicate. Imam Java, you have the floor, please.
Witness.
Imam Jallo mo la laaj mu ne seede bi.
I want you to clear a few points for me here.
Dafa am yu ma bëgg na nga leeralal ma ko fii.
When the election results were announced, everybody saw clearly that Yaya Jammeh had lost. The fact that they said there are some mistakes in the counting and still upheld that he actually had lost the elections. Do you think it was right for him to still say that he is not moving out of his seat? That's question number one.
Should I answer or you want to ask all the questions?
No, take this question first. I want to take them seriously.
Yes. Let me answer?
Yeah, please.
Yes. Thank you so much for asking that question. To answer directly, no, I don't think it was fair for him to say he was not going to step down. But you also have to look at the context, Imam. When the declaration of election loss was announced, he conceded. In fact, we were all preparing for the transition process. When IEC declared another set of results that was conflicted to the first set of results, it triggered the impasse. Under any laws, any electoral laws, once the electoral administration issues two conflicted results, they have tainted the election results. So the president was in his right to protest. How we went about it was wrong. And I agree with you to that extent. But to be quite clear, our roles as cabinet and my role as Minister of Justice provided him with the information as to the state of affairs. As to what was right and what was wrong. So we did not renege on our responsibilities to advise and to be of service to the people and the country. Thank you.
You talked about human rights.
Wax nga yelleefi doomu aadama.
And you gave the comparison
Te méngale nga it.
at forums in the international world.
Ak ni nga xam ne noonu laa doxee ci àddina si.
We could have done better.
Mënoon nañoo def neneen num gënee.
I want you to clarify for this commission
Nga leeralal commission bi.
why you chose that word instead of giving us exactly aspects that affect the Gambian people. Because it's not the answer is not we could have done better. My opinion.
Thank you very much. What I had stated was that no country has a perfect human rights record.
Amul ben rew mo xamne ni amna nak lu jëm ci wali yelefi doom adama bem wër.
But every state aspires to live up to expectation.
Waye rew mu ne nek amna éena pour doxal nak li nga xamne no lañ sentu ci mom.
For the state of the Gambia,
ci wali Gambia nak mom
we were doing very poorly in freedom of expressions.
Dal de nañu daanu lol nak ci wali mbiri agale sa xalat ci sa sago.
We were doing very poorly in unlawful detentions.
Ñu daanu nañu taben lu aju ci wali japp nit te teppowut ak yoon.
And I am the first to admit that.
Te man may njëlben pour nangu lolu.
And I know I have raised that a number of times.
Te tamen yaakaar naa yëkkati naa suma kàddu ci loolu ay waxtu yoon yu bari bari.
But human rights is not just about freedom of speech and freedom of movement.
Waaye nag mbiri àqi doomu adama du rek lu jëm ci wàlli dem ak dikk ak tamen wax ci yëpp ci say sago.
Human rights is also the protection of rights of women and children.
Nekk na tamen lu jëm ci wàlli taxaw nag yelleefi jigéen ñi ak xale yi.
Human rights is also to protect the promotion of right to health and education.
Bokk na ci tamen di gën a digëral nag yelleef nit am ci wàlli njàng ak wàlli wér-gu-yaram.
And comparatively, Gambia was doing well compared to other countries in that aspect.
Gambia na mu ngi doon def bu baax nag suñ ko méngalee ak yeneen réew ci fànn yooyu.
With regards to provision of educational facilities.
Bu ñëwee nag ci mbiri njàng ak li ci aju.
With regards to ensuring that girls had equal rights to access education as boys.
Ak tamit nag bu ñëwee nag ne xale yu jigéen yi am nañ même yelleef boo xam ne ni méngale nañ ko yu góor yi ci wàlli njàng.
With regards to reduction of maternal mortality rates.
Bu ñëwee tamit ci wàlli jigéen ñi des ci wàlli amam doom ak seen doom yi daanu ci mbootu.
With regards to reduction of infant mortality rates.
Ak tamit lu jëm ci wàlli buñ wàññi tamit li nga xam ne mooy xale yi daanu ci mbootu.
This all shows the effort that government was doing in terms of health.
Lii yëpp nag nguur gi mu ngi ko doon def ci buñ ko méngalee ak wàlli wér-gu-yaram.
And protection of the rights to the life to those children who could have lost their life but didn't.
Tey tamit ak li nga xam ne mooy kaaraange jëm ci dundini xale yooyu nga xam ne ni mënoon nañoo daanu ci mbootu te daanu wuñ ci.
And those women who could have lost their life in childbirth and didn't because of the effort that government had made.
Ak jigéen ñooñu nga xam ne ni mënoon nañoo des ci amam doom te desuñ ca ci yëpp nag mu ngi dëppoo ak jéego yi nga xam ne ni nguur gi def nañ ko.
So that's why when we talk about human rights.
Loolu moo tax bu ñuy wax mbiri human rights.
It's a holistic setup.
Nekk na nag taxawaay boo xam ne nii bu xool la.
It's not just one aspect of rights.
Nekk rek benn wàll rek ci wàlli yelleef.
I'm also the first to accept that.
Man maay njëlbéen tamit pour nangu loolu.
All rights are interlinked.
Yelleef yëpp dañ leen jokkale.
Just because we were doing well in health and education doesn't mean that we should fail in freedom of expression and freedom of movement.
Noonu lañ doon defee nag lu wér ci wàllu wér-gu-yaram ak njàng mi loolu rek warta tax rek ñu bàyyi càggante ko ci yeneen buntu yi.
That's why I said we could have done better.
Loolu moo tax ma ne mënoon nañoo def lu gën a yéwén
And we
loolu.
still can do better.
Tey ba tey mën nañoo def lu gën a yéwén.
No person, no country is perfect.
Amul benn réew amul benn doomu aadama boo xam ne nii dal dina mot sikk.
But we aspire to do better in life as human beings, as people, as a nation.
Waaye yéene nañ nag pour def lu gën a yéwén ni comme ay doomu aadama lañ tey tamit ñu ngeen liggéey nekk ci benn place.
Thank you.
Jërëjëf.
For the first time, I'm hearing you say that, admitting that actually there were some for the first time, since in the morning, I'm hearing you say now that you admit that actually there were some human rights violations.
Maybe it's the way you asked it.
Yeah, that's no.
It's the way you asked it. That's why I was able to provide you a direct answer.
Can you give me 3 human rights violations that you are aware of that occurred in this country which adversely affected Gambians?
Ding ma mëna jox ñetti mbir yo xamne dafa yàq yelleefi doom adama yo xamne mu ngi doon dox fi ci biir réew mi.
I can give you an answer as I know now, but I did not know at the time.
And
that is relating to unlawful detentions. Yes.
What you are telling us is that you are only telling us things that you know. And there is one quotation here which you said, I don't overlook on the shoulders of my employees, but as the person directly responsible for supervision of all staff matters, isn't it your right to look over the shoulders of your staff and underneath their shoulders to ensure that justice is done?
Ndax nak do won waxon nga fi ne yow nek lo da ngay top rek gannaaw yi nga xamne ñoy sa ay liggéeyandoor.
Because the impression it gave me is that you didn't know what they were doing.
Waaye nak fogulo ne sa warugal la tamit nga top ba xam li nga xamne ñi sa ron yeb loolu lañ doon def parce que li ma nuru moy ne yow xamulo won ñooñu li nga xamne mom lañ doon doxal.
That's a very good question, but it's not humanly possible.
Loolu nak laajte bu baax la waaye na du loo xam ne ni man a teg doomu aadama la.
In a ministry that has over 100 staff,
buntu liggéeykaay boo xam ne dem si téeméeri nit ñoo fay liggéey.
And over 7 departments.
Ak lu dem si juróom-ñaari buntu liggéeykaay.
I cannot be looking over the shoulder of every department head.
Mënuma nekk na di seet mbagg ñëpp ñi nga xam ne ni ñoo fay liggéey wala jiite ko.
I trust their competence and their qualification for holding that position.
Wóolu woon naa nag seen màcc ak seen taxawaay liggéey.
I am asking for, you said you to overlook on the shoulders of your staff, whether there are 1 million of them, you have sources through which you could pass to ensure that you know what people are doing, particularly if they are violating the rights of human beings in your country.
Aka nu molo ma bari waron nga am taxawaay yoo xam ne duñ ko mën a jël pour seet ndax ñooñu ñu ngay yàq yelleefi doom aadama fii ci suñu réew mi.
I think the point that has to be made clear here, Imam, is the fact that violations of human rights were not done directly by staff in my office. That those rights with regards to detention and arrest, that's under the purview of Ministry of Interior.
te yelleef yooyu nag duutoon na yëpp nag daal ci suma ron ministry la nekkoon. jàpp yeeg yooyu noonu nag mu ngi nekkoon ci ron ministry bi saytuwaale doxalin biir réew mi.
So it would not be fair to say that my staff or me or anybody in the Ministry of Justice violated human rights. Nobody did that, and what I can assure you.
du jaadu na pour ne nag loolu yelleef yooyu ni ñu ko xatee ci suma ron la woon rek loolu moom mën naa la koo gaaral.
I am certainly not saying that your ministry is responsible or you are responsible. I'm saying your role as Attorney General and Minister of Justice. And that is what I am questioning.
Thank you. May I respond?
Yeah.
The role as Attorney General,
Attorney General,
as provided for in the Constitution of the Gambia, is to serve as principal legal advisor. It definitely does not mean only legal advisor. And when it came to my responsibilities, God knows I did it to the best of my ability.
The last question is, it goes back to the other question I asked. Can you tell this commission 3 violations that adversely affected Gambians that you can tell us?
laajte bu mujj bi de mooy dama delluwaat la ma laajte woon rek ndax mun nga maa konteel ñetti mbir yoo xam ne yow gis nga ne loolu dafa doon yàq yelleefi doomu aadama ci réew mi fii.
At the top of my head, I can only think of unlawful detention.
ci suma bopp daal li ma ci mën a fàttali ko rek mooy te jàpp nit te dëppwut ak yoon.
Thank you.
Imam C, you have the floor.
Madam Fatima.
Yes, sir.
Witness. What doubts me is
Yaya
Jammeh will just agree to something, say something. You people were lawyers and he didn't know anything about the law. You know all the aspects of law. He will just decide anything that pleases him and put it on you, and you did it, and you said it is a law. And he always lean on the laws, but he is always going by the degrees. I doubt that doubts me how you people accepted that one. Secondly, all that's what you said, and that was not on law, and he has violated people's rights. You have to seek for apology for forgiveness on that. It's not only you.
Thank you very much.
Jerejef Imam.
I want to state for the record that when I give my advice, it's usually done in accordance with the law. So if it's with regards to, for example, prosecution, the relevant law is quoted. And the decision to prosecute would commence. I personally, I have not done anything that has hurt anybody or violated anybody's rights. That is not who I am as a person. And even all those who are speaking, including counsel, would not say that this is what I did. To hurt somebody, to detain somebody, or to do anything that would violate their rights. That's not the kind of person I am. That was not the kind of minister I was. That's one. With regards to laws, between 2013 and 2017, every law that I passed was one way or the other beneficial to the people of the country. There was no law that I moved before Parliament that violated the rights of anybody. In my opinion, I'm the kind of person, if I cannot build and keep the peace, I will not destroy. And nobody can stand here and say I destroyed their lives. Or I did something to hurt them. There usually have been many false allegations made against me in public and in social media, which God knows are not true. But I would not go out and start defending myself on some trivial issues. Because no matter how long it takes, I know I will be vindicated. And I'm going to rest on that. And my conscience is clear. And my relationship with my Creator is clear. When I go to bed, I sleep at night. Because I know my hands are not tainted, they are not stained. And that's the truth.
Commissioner Jones, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Singhateh, for your testimony. My first question would focus on the issue of the Islamic State. I read through your response to Jammeh,
jangana li nga xamne mom nga tontu jamme
dated the 8th of February 2016.
juroom benn fanweeri février juroom ñetti fanweeri février 2016.
And one of your recommendations was to maintain the formal name of the Republic. As it had legal implications. I want to ask a question regarding this recommendation that you made. Was this recommendation adhered to? As in, were letters or correspondence that emanated from the offices or government institutions, including your ministry? Did they maintain the name as the Republic of the Gambia? Or was it changed to Islamic Republic of the Gambia?
My ministry maintained the name Republic of the Gambia.
Man, suma ministry dafa continue on to the Republic of the Gambia.
Because I know the legal implication.
Ndax xamna nak mbiri loi bi nga xamne ni mo ci lalu.
But others did not.
Waye nak ñeneen ñi defuñ ko de.
And from the opinion I read, I think I read the second one.
Te lima ci jang moy jang na benen bi, ñaarel bi.
That recommendation I made to the executive was rejected.
Ne li ragnef bi nga xamne mom la defalon president bi dal dañ ko mujjé won dak.
Were you aware that other government institutions and ministries were not adhering to this recommendation?
Yes, I was aware with regards to foreign affairs.
What about the Office of the President, since you received a lot of correspondences from them?
I guess so, but the thing is sometimes the letterheads are conflicting. Sometimes it would be Republic of the Gambia, others it would be Islamic Republic.
Li nga xamne mom lañ def na ci boppi lettre bi lego leg de muy féwalo de lego le nga gis fa Republic of the Gambia lego gis Islamic Republic of the Gambia.
It always depends on I think the author of the letter that comes from OP.
Mu ngi des rek nak ci ki nga xamne ni mo bind lettre bobu joge ko ci Office of the President.
Are you also aware that there was a directive that all women should cover their heads when going to, I think it was government institutions? I can't remember what exactly it was, but there was a directive that all women should cover their head.
Yes, I was aware.
Taking into consideration that both of these directives are illegal, I think you would agree with me on that. Did you further make any recommendation to the President on the illegality of these directives?
I
saw it as an option with regards to covering our heads because I didn't enforce it in my ministry.
Man nak forcé wu mako nak ci suma ministère dama ko japp rek ne ke tan sa bula neex la rek kula neex kum neex nga musoru kum neex nga bay.
Because with regards to covering your head, it's a matter of tradition. You choose to or you don't choose to.
Tay tamé nak ngir nak muru nak lol nek na mbir mo xamné ni mbiri aada la rek bula neexé nga def bula neexé do def.
Beyond just tradition, it's also religious, because I'm a Christian, so I would take offense if someone asked me to cover my head.
Man xam nga comme que man nek Christian la bon dina ko gisé né togn la pour nit wax mané dama wara mur suma bop bi.
But you didn't have to. There were some Christians in my office who didn't.
Why bobay do ko def ndax ma amna Christian yu nek suma office de defuñ ko.
I definitely did not, but that's not the issue. We're talking about an entire nation of about 2 million people at the time. And you have repeatedly told us about your role, which included being the chief legal advisor to the president. You've also told us that your opinions were based on law. And I would think that it goes against the law as far as it concerns majority of Gambians, because this was not a decision that was made by the people of the Gambia. It was one individual who decided to call the Gambia an Islamic Republic of the Gambia. In response to your question to Imam Jallo concerning rights violations that you're aware of, You mentioned unlawful detention and said you only just found out about it.
wax nga ne téye ni teg ko benn béréb te àndul ak luwaa yàgguloo ko xam.
Can you please tell the Commission how you came to know about these unlawful detentions?
Mun ngaa wax commission bi naka nga yëgee ni ñoo téye teg leen benn place te àndut ak luwaa.
I cannot recall at the top of my head. I just know about it.
mënuma koo fàttale ko de dama ko jox xam noonu rek.
If you know about it, I'm sure you know about some instances or individuals. Can you speak to that then?
I cannot at the top of my head speak to that.
loolu mënuma koo wax ci suma bopp nii rek de.
Okay. Now in totality, we're looking at your, again, taking into cognizance your response, Imam Jallo, on the issue of the election.
Bente tamit de ñu ñëw ci tontu yi nga tontu Imam Jallo lu aju ci mbiri élection yi.
And that of the issue of the Islamic State.
Ak it li ngeen xam ne réew mi pour ñu def ko réewum Islam.
As chief legal advisor to the president or to the government,
yow yaay joxe ndigal ci nguur gi.
do you still uphold your conviction that you served your country to the best of your ability?
Ndax yaa ngi jàpp ba léegi ne yow de def nga sa liggéey ni nga ko war a defee sa kéemtalaay kàttan.
Of course, definitely, absolutely.
Wow.
Thank you.
And I was honored to have served my country.
te man amoon naa nag pour nag liggéeyal suma réew.
And I was honored to have provided services that was beneficial to my country.
te tamit doon na pour liggéeyal suma réew indi service yoo xam ne dana leen jëriñ.
And I believe that every person should sacrifice one way or the other to be of service to their country.
te kenn ku nekk war naa wàkkirlu si wenn yoon wala weneen pour nag nekk loo xam ne ni dana indi service si réewam.
Being a public service or be public servant is a thankless job. Nobody would get to thank you.
liggéey nag si nguur nekk na loo xam ne ni nag kenn xamut fu ngeen maate googu em.
In spite of all your achievements and all the benefits that you have provided for your country and your people, somebody will always find something small to use against you. So I know that I have served my country. And I know that I have done the best I could possibly can as humanly possible as possible. That's okay for me. And I'm okay with it. Whether others see it or not, that's okay. I am satisfied with the work I have done.
Very well said. That being said, however, given the fact that the president made some pronouncements or directives that affected the sovereign will of the people of the Gambia that were illegal.
President bi def na ay dogal yoo xam ne laal na waa réewi Gambia te àndul ak luwa.
I respect your stance and the position you've presented to the Commission that all your decisions were based on law.
Fonka naa sa taxawaay nag li nga xam ne moom nga fi ci commission bi ne yow lépp loo dogal rek danga ko wéer ci luwa.
You had the option to further send recommendations or to resign like others have when those recommendations were not adhered to.
Yow nag mënoon ngaa tànn pour ndax ñu nangu li nga xam ne mooy dogal yi nga ndigal yi nga joxe wala nga bàyyi liggéey bi comme que li nga digle duñ koy def.
Could you please tell the Commission why you chose to continue working even though your recommendations were not adhered to?
Mën ngaa wax commission bi tax nga continuer di liggéey nag comme que li nga leen digal duñ koy def.
I will not sit here to tell you that my work wasn't demanding.
My work
was not a 9-to-5 job. My work was not a 9 to. It wasn't. I did not work between 9 and 5 o'clock. My work was 24/7. And it was demanding and it was intense. But if I were to resign, it would mean that I was giving up. It would mean that I was throwing in the towel. And it would mean that I was admitting defeat. Because every day you go to work, or every day I go to work, I find a way to make the lives of the people I serve better. If I fail in one bit, I will endeavor to succeed in another. It's just like a mother or a father of a home. When there's a problem, they just don't pack their bags and leave the family.
mu ngi mel ni rek borom kër bu tàngee rek nga jël sa bag daw bàyyi sa njaboot gannaaw.
Face your difficulties and you find ways of solving the problem.
Saay bu ne rek nga jàkkaarloog say jafe-jafe ak ut anam gi nga xam ne noonu nga koy saafara.
I knew the person I was working with.
xam naa nit ki nga xam ne ni moom laa doon liggéeyal.
I knew how stubborn he could be.
xam naa tamit naka la dëgëree bopp.
But I also know that there were instances where I was able to get him to comply with my advice.
waaye nag am naa ci anam yi nga xam ne ni noonu laay daan mujjee fexe bem nangul ma li nga xam ne moom laa daan ko daan yedd.
And in many of those instances,
yenn ci yooyu.
I have saved a number of people.
dal dinaa sowe ay nit ñu bari.
And I have fixed a number of problems.
tamit nag saafara naa yenn yu bari.
But those are the things that would never come to light.
yooyu nag mooy yi nga xam ne nii duñ mës a feeñ.
Because it affects the lives and properties of people who prefer privacy.
ndax loolu mooy nit ñi nga xam ne nii aar na seen dund ak seen juntuwaay ndax ñoom nekk nañ ñoo xam ne ñu bëggoon sutura la.
Unfortunately, when something goes wrong, you only hear about the bad things.
te léegoo-léeg bu mbiri yàqoo rek lu bon ni rek ngay dégg.
You never hear about the good things that people do.
te tamit doo dégg nag yu baax yi nga xam ne ñu ngi koy def.
It's only when they die that people will talk about all the good things they did.
ndare rek buñ dee ci la ñuy commencé nag di wax lu baax liñ def.
That's why I say that public service is a thankless job.
si looloo tax may liggéeyi nguur nekk na loo xam ne ni kenn xamu fu ngeen maate gi toll.
You do your best because of the service you render.
dangaa def li nga man ndeg service bi ngay joxe.
Not because of the thank you would get.
waaye du nag ci ngir maate yi nga xam ne yooyu ngay dégg.
Because if you want to wait for a thank you, you will never get it.
ndax bu fekkee ne dangay dégg si yooyu noonu doo ko mos a jot.
That's all.
jërëjëf loolu la.
Thank you. Before giving Commissioner Kerr the floor, just want you to clarify one point for me. It's not quite clear to me. When on the Islamic Republic issue.
Bala ma jox commissioner ka kaddu gi dafa am fuma bëgg nga leeralal ma rek lo aju ci mbiri ne réew mi ñu jox ko réewi islam.
I think if I heard you correctly, one of the recommendations in your note to the President's office
su fekkee dégg naa la bu baax de yenn yi nga xam ne digal nga ko président bi
was to maintain the name of the country, Republic of the Gambia.
mooy ne ni xamee woon réewi Gambia ne République bu Gambia nañ téye waat tur boobu na meloon.
While giving it attributes of an Islamic state. I'm a bit confused at the two coexisting.
lu tax ñuy
You
xalaat
can just clarify the point.
war a nekk réewi islam nga leeralal ñu foofu.
I don't think I understand the question. You say, why wasn't it? I don't understand the question.
One of the recommendations you referred to
Yes.
was to maintain the name Republic of the Gambia.
Yes.
And then I think subsequently mentioned retaining or creating the attributes of an Islamic state. It's that contradiction that keep the name, don't call it Islamic or Republic of the Gambia, but have institutions and laws and other things that attributes of Islamic State. Do you get it?
I don't think that's what I said.
Okay,
Unless,
then I misunderstood you.
Yeah, unless council can share the letter again, because I think I remember stating that because there was already a proclamation that the country would be an Islamic state. All of a sudden, Gambia was being referred to as Islamic Republic of the Gambia.
nekkul ne loolu laa wax de kana kañ council indiwaat seeta wanaan ñu leetar bi rek ndax am na yébaane boo xam ne defoon nañ ko ne Gambia daal mu Islamic Republic la waaye mu nit ñi commencé di ko ooyee.
My recommendation was, can we keep Gambia the way as it is, Republic of the Gambia?
Man suma tontu moo nekkoon suma li ma ràññee moo nekkoon ndax mënuñoo continuer di oo Gambia tur biñ ko xamee. Republic of the Gambia.
That we have to go through a process, a whole list of process before we can be an Islamic state.
Ne dañ war a jaar ci ay yoon yu bari balaa ñooy àgg nag ci Islamic Republic state.
And that includes going through a referendum.
Loolu nag bokk na ci pour dem ci benn referendum.
I think that was the point I was trying to make.
Yaakaar naa loolu moo nekkoon point bi nga xam ne moom laa bëggoon a def.
And for me personally,
tamit man ci suma bopp rek.
I believe that by the time we actually say we're going to go through the process of Islamization of the Republic, before we get to a referendum, this issue would have been resolved, I believe.
But your advice certainly wasn't taken.
It wasn't.
And he did inform, I was at the United Nations at that time, we received his letter informing that the name of the Gambia had changed to the Islamic Republic of the Gambia.
United Nations jotoon nañ letter bu wone ne soppali nañ tur bi tuddee ko Islamic Republic bu Gambia.
That's why I said that I know Foreign Affairs changed the names.
Foreign Affairs
I met Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran, a few days after that in Makkah, and he held my hand for almost 5-10 minutes. And when I returned to New York, he said to me, "Your brother held your hand because you are now Islamic Republic of the Gambia." I told him, no, that was not it. But Commissioner Kerr, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Singhateh, for your testimony before this commission.
Ms. Singhateh, commission.
First question I want to ask you is a follow-up to Imam Jallo's question. Because Imam asked you to name 3 human rights violations you were aware of. And you mentioned that you only knew about illegal detention. Looking back. Would it be correct to say you are in touch with the reality on the ground?
Firstly, let me set the record straight. I did not say I only knew. I said the only thing I can think of at the top of my head. And as your second question, I believe is a rhetorical question because you don't expect me to give you an answer for that.
So, would you be aware of other human rights violations then?
I said at the top of my head, the only thing I can think of at the top of my head was illegal detention.
Yeah,
you read in media reports about human rights issues in the Gambia?
Media reports such as?
The local newspapers?
I was reading the local newspapers.
So you would be aware of those human rights violations that were reported in those papers?
Like illegal detention.
Thank you. And did you do anything about those issues?
Yes.
Wow.
Can you tell this commission?
I talked to my colleague, the Minister of Interior, and informed them that whatever they do, they should do so according to law.
At your
own ministry, what did you do?
I was not responsible for detention, so the best thing I could do, the only thing I could do was provide advice.
But
I believe you must have had knowledge of these other issues as you've indicated in your reply.
I think I've already answered your question.
Anyway, my final question would be, since you mentioned, even in your answer to some of the questions Commissioner Jones asked and some of the other commissioners, that you did your best, but sometimes you fell short.
waaw comme ko wax nga fi ne nag def nga sa kéemtalaay kàttan waaye léegi-léegi ni nga ko buggee duy amee noonu.
Is there anything you would like to ask for forgiveness from the Gambian people?
am na benn jéggalu boo xam ne bugga nga ko laaj waa Gambia ñu pour ñu jéggal la.
No.
Did it.
Thank you.
Please proceed to make your final remarks.
I think I'll hold my peace. I am not going to say anything else.
Thank you very much indeed
for
coming to testify before the Commission.
jërëjëf bon li nga ñëw ci kanami commission bi.
Council, you have some submissions to make.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Exhibits.
The letters and the opinion that were indicated before the Commission, I would like to apply to tender them. I will do the dates and everything as later, but to give you the number, it
Yes.
will be 221. And then from A, B, C, to D.
Anything else? That's it?
That's all.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much indeed, and we will resume our public hearings on Monday, 10 o'clock sharp. Thank you all very much.
Am I excused? Can I go?
The meeting is ended. Yes, you are. But
No, I just want to know whether I have to come back again or are you done with me?
if we do, we will get in touch with you.
No,
we can't tell now.
No, I heard you said we will resume proceedings
No,
again.
not you, not you. I meant I'm just announcing that this ends our activities for today. And no, with you, we are finished. When we need you, we'll bring you back.
Thank you so much.
But thank you very much, Madam.
Assalamualaikum. Defuñ nag lu dul rek demal lañ ba Austria jëndal lañ jes na fam gën a piree jes na bi gën a ndaanaale ci jes na yi ñu naan ko Magnum XL ak Magnum Air in fact Magnum Air sax dafa génn ngut waaye da ngeen ko dégg ci kanam tuuti rek moom laa leen indil waa Gambie xam ngeen ne yebuma leen xeebuma leen te duma leen footoo man yéen laay bégee xankañ loolu lañ nama nag ma indil lañ mu ngi nii loolu lañ nama ci jes na rek xolo boo lañ nama ak design boo lañ nama rek egsi na manaan lañ nag egsi lañ mu ngi nii skincare plus laati de xam ngeen ne rek suñ plus yi comes in so many different ways our musical ma tuuti hankañ waaw man seen bëggee la maa gaañte hankañ waaw waaw Skincare Plus of the Gambia niñ leen ko taamoo di defalee rek mun ngeen ñoo jot ci number yi bu dee Gambia fii la call lañu si 3699137 bu dee yaa nga United States nag call ñu si 347-731-0071 te naan lañ nag suñ contract bi DHL mu nga fam ne woon ba léegi foo nekk ci àddina rek boo ñu ne ring ñu jaay la paagal la ba pare yónnee la ko ci ak nu mu gën a yombee xam nga rek fañ ne woon fala ba léegi number si naka la 347-731-0071 mooy United States suñ number bi fii locally fii ci Gambia fii mooy 3699137 te naan la nag number yëpp a ngi WhatsApp boo ñuy call dañu am noonu rek la nag waaw